Good morning. I am Levent from Doğuş Technology, in charge of digital solutions. Actually, İlker couldn't attend because of a last-minute program change, and he wanted me to share his apologies with you. And now, briefly, I would like to update you about Doğuş Technology for just a few minutes. And then in the digital field, we will discuss what we are doing, mostly about EVAM. Now, what is the vision that we started off with? Actually, we based ourselves into some problems. We wanted to look for some solutions to the problems. And together with, of course, EVAM, we set up a campaign structure. And then I'll finish with some examples. And this will be about 20 minutes of time that I will be sharing our experience with you. Now, Doğuş Technology was actually maybe beyond that, because we derived from Garanti Technology, together with the Garanti to go outside the group with all the other non-financial subsidies. Of course, we were founded to give services mainly on software. We have a data center, we do hosting, we are a system integrator at the same time, and there is also another chance that I have to say, or a challenge at the same time. As you know, Doğuş Group has been active in 9 different vertical sectors. We have more than 300 companies almost. Therefore, as Doğuş Technology, we've been providing end-to-end IT solutions to these more than 300 companies. We're both excited and we are challenged, of course, with this fact. Of course, as the basics services, as I said, process counseling, software development. We do not say to develop all the software ourselves. We rather use other companies, outsource these Turkish and international and maybe local companies also for the service. We also do system and infrastructure services, info safety, web projects, mobile solutions, and recently we are concentrating on our efforts on business intelligence and data reporting. Mostly I will be speaking about the works that we've been doing on the data side and how the group companies and of course our partner companies are being contributed to by using this data services. As Doğuş Technology, actually we have many products and appealing to several industries, but putting EVAM on top of our products, we have 3 main products. One of them is Zubizu. Zubizu, I'm sure everyone knows, it's a multiple merchant loyalty program which was launched about a year ago. It was launched in 2016, and since then we've been in the market with a very good number of subscribers. We have more than 1.5 million active subscribers and more than 350 brands. It's also important, it's not just the brands of Doğuş Group, but also the other brands being involved. We have activities in more than 5,000 points, and we've been running more than 4,500 campaigns. The second one is Rezerven. It is providing booking services to the restaurants for booking services to the end user, and on the restaurant there is a restaurant management and table management service. We have more than 125 restaurants currently, and it's been in service for about a year. We launched it before Zubizu, and we have more than 75,000 bookings done through the service. The last product is Mobilet, that is available on App Store last week, not officially launched yet, but download started, and we're also doing ticket sales on this. It's a ticket service. Babylon and Positive are in our group, and for many events, of course, not only in Babylon, but also in the other spots. We are providing a mobile application or a web application for purchasing tickets to events online. And we also have EVAM on the background, and we'll have the chance of working in more complex setup in the future. Now, these are, of course, touching the end user, but there is a lot of data work going on behind the scene. Here as a group, indeed, our aim is, particularly on the Doğuş technology side, what we're trying to execute is the data-driven marketing. This is our vision, and here, of course, we're aiming at providing more focused, actually, campaigns by providing micro-segmenting for individuals, for people. Of course, we need to do the right channel, right place, right time to the right customer for announcing the campaigns. Then, of course, when doing that, we are basing ourselves on data. I mean, it's not the merchant guts, but it's rather based on data that is derived from the digital and the offline purchasing behavior of the customers or any other digital data that's out there. We get the data, process, and make our decision. This is what we want to do, is to automatize this process. Okay, there are some problems that we are trying to provide a solution to, but what are these problems? Normally, when we first started Subizu, as I will explain in detail in a minute, we did our own campaign system, but at a certain point we wanted to just take a step forward, but there were some problems, and I would guess that many of you would feel the same problems. For instance, particularly on Subizu side, we have, since it's a multi-merchant loyalty program, the point there is that any customer that would touch any place in Doğuş Group would be referred to another sector of Doğuş Group. Therefore, to run cross campaigns is really important, but it's important to do it on a real-time basis. And to be able to do this with easy definitions, because in normal conditions, getting data, processing it, and the next day finding a campaign mass group and just locking it into the system, you can also proceed as such as we did at the outset. But I think EVAM story is also based on real time. Therefore, in the time that it took for one action to the other, the narrower the time span would be, the better the solutions would be. Therefore, we wanted to do it real time, and to be able to do it real time, we need automatization. And of course, to run complex campaigns, of course, not just this when this is provided, but it's a multi-stage scenarios to be introduced into the system where these can be processed on a real-time basis based on performance, and at the end of the day, it provides a communication with individuals, involving them into a mass group. And of course, we want to implement gamification setup. Here, it's important that the micro-segments would need to be defined by themselves. Therefore, according to the purchasing behaviors, the websites that they're logging into is used to collect data, define the points of interest of these individuals, submitting the right campaign bids to the right people in the right time. There is one thing that is also important that we solve with EVAM. It was a challenge for us, because normally always when you're doing an action-based approach, you need to do something. I mean, whenever there is no event, in other words, negative eventing. So to be able to do that in a performance basis, you need to check on the system whether it already exists in the system, which also was another challenge. And last point is mass communication. Actually, it is really a big challenge to go on a manual mass communication where we have more than 1.5 million subscribers. Campaign marketing, loyalty business is really something that we need to be quite careful in terms of communication, because when also you do extreme or more than necessary communication, that would come up with a negative feedback as well. Therefore, to leave it in the desired, maximum tasteful position, you need to also make a proper control not to go on to the negative eventing side based on marketing and action side. There is one layer that needs to manage all the process, because I'm doing something, I will say something at the end, but it's just 1 hour that I was just sending some messages to the individuals, to that customer, and I shouldn't go back with another message. Therefore, that we need to do a proper positioning. Now, this is the structure that we set up. I briefly would like to speak about that as well. Now, as I said, data-driven marketing is the vision of the group. Therefore, maybe a lot earlier than our end channel Subizu, before even Subizu, we, as the entire Doğuş Group, we went through all the transaction and product data of Doğuş Group. We did a data arousal for at the center, like for instance the data of the car you purchased from Doğuş Group and the maintenance services, spare parts info, all that group data on the cars are collected. We put restaurant data on top of it, hotel data on top of it, and also any data from Babylon Group is also put on top of it, plus the data from the communication and publication groups are just put on top of it. Then we run a unification process, both in terms of products and customers. Therefore, everywhere we can touch in a 360-degree, all the experiences of the customer in a day are trying to be coded up so that we can know the individual better, so that we can guess or predict the next step of that individual better, so that we can guide any desired merchant to that behavior. The dream we have is actually if you purchase a car from Audi, for instance, and tonight if you go to a restaurant of Doğuş Group tonight, you will, for instance, at Kitchenette or another restaurant, you will make sure that you will be approached differently, such as a slightly upgraded or a customized approach to you. So we need data. So the data needs to be processed so that we can get some idea about the level of income, where these individuals are going, how frequently they're going outside for a restaurant. So the first thing we need to do is to get some data. All the data of Doğuş Group are collected every night, and until morning we process the data and we put the data into processing and unification, and of course we individualize the customers. Then the transaction data of the customers are just retrieved. When retrieving, of course, we have an integration of the biggest POS machines, devices in the market, and we also get all the transaction data from there. And we also have the campaign module that we use for simple campaigns. And EVAM, as I said, is just used for complex event processing needs. Actually, we're using EVAM as very strong legs and arms because it works for the events that we cannot work out alone. It would have taken us many years to write the software with a lot of efforts into it and investment into it. Out there, that was already the best of it. We took it and put it next to our own campaign system. Therefore, both on the customer side and the data transactions and campaigns, we also provide feedback to EVAM, where the scenarios that were written by the business side will be matched according to an action as soon as it appears to fulfill the action. Here, the channel that we are touching the customer is, for instance, Subizu, Reservin, and now we have Mobilet. Actually, one point to emphasize here too, because normally we get offline transactions with the cashiers, for instance, but we're mostly spending our time on the digital side. Therefore, the digital side works not only for a unilateral communication, but rather a place where any insight about me and the movements of me can be tracked. Therefore, in end-to-end processing, for instance, from Adjust, we get the customer behavior data, and if there is a remarketing, retargeting, or a marketing campaign can be driven. On, this side, we check our own insights, and TV sports and other, digital movements of the individual is just being used to get insights about users for segmentation and also for deciding for the next campaigns to go for. One of the things that I will be speaking about is the MP. Oracle Bluca is also positioned there. We went online this year. It's, a data management platform, and there we have the chance of having the MP users and other user companies outside of our, of course, boundaries, or the merchants in Doğuş group also provides data. Thanks to DMP, we can track the users on these devices, which would give us an insight in the same way. And if we find any mass group that also would just intersect with each other, we can do the same thing easily through that channel, where we can reach the merchants of Doğuş group and other merchants outside Doğuş group as well. This is an example campaign that we ran with EVAM. Here, I don't know if you remember or not, and it was out in the commercials, mobile payment capacity of Subizu without stepping out of the car, introducing your car and your credit card on Subizu, you can do your payment. And at the same time, you get an award, rewards such as, that is, if you buy an oil up to 300 lira from Shell stations every month, 15 lira of a gift fuel will be given to you in return. And actually, my friend was showing me his transactions. Normally, 300 lira cannot be counted by an individual, but there is this engine you need to do it for you. Here, what we do it on the first day, when the user becomes a subscriber to Subizu, the third day we tell him or her that you can easily introduce your registration plate of your car in the Subizu, where you can start getting rewards. If you spend 300 lira every month, you will get a reward of 15 lira. This is a reminder. On the fifth day, if there is a registration plate entry, it's okay. But if not, I mean, some days later, we remind the user to introduce the registration plate to the system. The user, if enters the registration plate and never went to Shell station, we would remind to go to Shell station. And the next day, if the person just spends 300 lira, will get a reward of 15 lira. This is another reminder. And by the 25th of the month, we make a calculation. Let's say if it's 225 lira and 75 lira left to be completed by the end of the month, we make another reminder. You've already purchased 225 lira worth of fuel. If you buy 75 lira more fuel, you will get a reward of 15 lira. So there is a renewal of this calculation all the time. On the third day, when the reward is given, there is a congratulations message that appears on the screen. Now, this is a setup, as you know, that is being used by various credit cards or bank cards, but we've added up a digital dimension to it. Normally, I mean, when the users are so much familiar and acquainted with digital, but it's okay, but this may not be the case for everyone. And the person may not know where to introduce the trade registration plate, or it's just interrupted by a telephone call or whatsoever. Here I'm just talking about end-to-end tracking, you know, with Labs and Google Analytics. And these are also the methods that we're also looking into the user behavior. If somebody checked into the details of the Shell campaign but didn't introduce the trade plate, or started right entering the registration plate but it was interrupted, if there is any interruption, we again make an entry into the EVAM. If the person is interrupted, gives up, and does not register the trade registration plate, there is an event that goes on to EVAM on the call side, and the agent will be able to call the customer online and says that he wanted to enter the trade registration plate, but is there anything that I can help you with? Actually, there is a very good conversion rate that we caught up thanks to that. Therefore, it's not just offline business, but also some reflection onto offline, online, with some user experiences, so that the processes that already exist are improved. I think that would be it. I mean, thank you very much. If you have any question, I may get the questions either right away or we can discuss during the break, if you like. Okay then, thank you for your attention.